Hello, brothers and sisters. Thanks for watching again today. When I first saw this story, I thought they were having a laugh. I really did. I thought this must be something off the Babylon Bee or the Onion, prominent satire sites. But sadly, it's not. Watch as London cop threatens to arrest a man for being openly Jewish. Now, I bring this one back up because of all the anti-Semitism and the terrorist attack that shockingly happened in Manchester yesterday, where the terrorists attacked a Jewish synagogue. And I know the BBC and Sky News, they're getting in a little bother on that because they're saying it was mental illness, or they're saying that he was far right. The man was obviously Muslim, and he's attacking a synagogue. And the police have said that was terrorism. So I'm thinking it's probably terrorism. Though, we need to wait for more information. Yes, I get it, but it's just crazy what the papers are saying right now about it. Let's look at this story. How could this be possible in the UK? Can you arrest people for being Jewish in the UK? Let's watch more. I'm not a solicitor, so I don't know these things. Please educate me on this. So this is a story that I caught on Twitchy from September 23rd. So this is just a week ago. So let's look at this. Now, we'll start off with a caveat. This video is from around April 24, so it's not exactly breaking news. Okay, so this is a little over a year old. But we are bringing this to your attention now because, one, we've never shown it, and a post sharing this video on Twitter is getting attention. Holy crap, what the heck, London? So I guess this happened in London. So here is the aforementioned Twitter post from Concerned Citizen. So you are quite openly Jewish. If you choose to remain here, you'll be arrested for breaching the peace. Okay, so in Keir Starmer's England, being openly Jewish is a breach of the peace. I think that's what we just saw. Maybe it's taken out of context. In Sadiq Khan's diverse and inclusive London, police threaten you with arrest just for being Jewish in areas of the city. People might take offense to that. So people in London are taking offense to people being Jewish. This sounds crazy to me. Let's watch and see what you think. Maybe this is all just right-wing nonsense and this isn't really what happened here. So they've got a police sergeant here. He's a little bit blurred out. Oh, and then we got one of these little girl police officers again. They need to stop doing this. Stop the DEI hires. I've already talked about this at least twice. Police officers need to be fit. Best case, they need to be 6 feet tall and 200 pounds and can intimidate and chase down potential machete-wielding madmen. They don't need to be petite little girls just because you're trying to make DEI quota for this month. They actually have to be fit for purpose. Whenever you put one of these little girls out on the job, it's dangerous. And look, you've got to pair her up with a big man or else things go pear-shaped. Am I wrong? There's a lot of situations where one large person who's fit can deal with it themselves. This little girl is going to need backup for just about anything she does if she gets anyone uncooperative. Well, I take that back. She could be working on the anti-Twitter squad. Let's see what we have here. You are openly Jewish. Okay, it's only 32 seconds long. I'm going to let it play without commentary, and then maybe I'll rewind it.
You are quite openly Jewish. This is a pro-Palestinian march. I'm not accusing you of anything, but I'm worried about the reaction to you now. You've been escorted out of this area so you can go about your business, go where you like freely, or if you choose to remain here, because you are causing a breach of peace between these other people, you will be arrested. And we discuss this with you.
If I remain here, you will arrest me.
Because your presence is antagonising a large group of people that we can't deal with all of them. If they attack you, or if they because your presence is antagonising.
So did I hear? So what do you guys think? That sounded to me like he was told he must leave the area because there was a pro-Palestine protest going on. Him just being there is a breach of the peace during this protest. Are you not allowed to go out in public in the UK if you're Jewish when there's a Palestinian protest? Does anyone know the law related to that? Just walking around with a kippah on, and I'm not Jewish, but I think that's what they call it, when there's people that are pro-Palestine around, is that against the law? What if he was counter-protesting? Are Jews not allowed to counter-protest if they want to? at a Palestinian protest? This sounds absurd to me. It appears that there's no freedom of religion in the UK, as well as freedom of speech or freedom to peacefully protest. And Men's not even protesting. It appears he's just walking on the pavement. We don't know the context. We don't know what he did before this, but the officer is just telling him he must leave, or him just being there is a breach of the peace. Again, this sounds absurd. So let's watch it one more time. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, and then we'll look back at what the article says.
You are quite openly Jewish. This is a pro-Palestinian march. I'm not accusing you of anything, but I'm worried about the reaction to you now. You're being escorted out of this area so you can go about your business, go where you like freely, or if you choose to remain here, because you are causing a breach of these people and these other people, you will be arrested. And we discuss this with you.
If I remain here, you will arrest me.
Because your presence here is antagonising a large group of people, and we can't deal with all of them if they attack you, or if they because your presence is antagonising.
Yeah, he probably should have just waited there to be arrested. That would have been a good lawsuit, I think, because this cannot be legal. Tell me in the comments how this turned out. If it doesn't show up in the story. Let's see what the story says. Additional context. London police apologize after threatening to arrest openly Jewish man near pro-Palestinian protest. Yeah, it seems like the police don't actually know the law anymore. If there are bad actors in the protest that try to harm a member of the public who just happens to be Jewish, the police should arrest them. Now, the problem might be that this sergeant only has a bunch of little girls with him and really doesn't have sufficient force to stop the bad actors. That's still no reason to threaten someone with arrest, just going about his own business. The article lays out that the Jewish man was Gideon Falter, chief executive of the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism. Yes, he probably went there on purpose. His headwear is a kippah, a.k.a. a yarmulke. I don't know if I said that right. Again, I'm not Jewish. And the cop was concerned that if an openly Jewish person came near the campaign of love and tolerance known as Free Palestine movement, that the loving and tolerant apologists for Hamas might get agitated and attack him. So in the cop's eyes, Falter was committing a criminal act of breach of the peace if he peacefully walked near those completely peaceful and loving protesters. You can't make this stuff up. This is just like a Babylon Bee article. Of course, we are sure you detected a fair amount of sarcasm in the last paragraph. We all know that these Free Palestine protesters are not peaceful. It's not impossible to support a terrorist organization with peaceful protests, but it is at least contradictory to do so. I support violent terrorists, but peacefully. It's not the most natural sentiment. And of course, Free Palestine is a misnomer too, much like Antifa, which is actually a fascist organization pretending to be anti-fascist. Yeah, it's all George Orwell doublespeak nowadays. Hamas isn't fighting for freedom in any way normal people understand that term. Hamas doesn't allow freedom in Gaza. Yeah, go talk bad about Hamas in Gaza, see what happens. They come and break your kneecaps or kill you. It's a fact. Go Google it. You have no free speech. You certainly don't have elections. And if you are gay, they will literally execute you by throwing you off the roof. Yeah, I've never understood like Gays for Palestine. Do they not actually realize that Hamas wants to kill all of them? That is, if there are any buildings left standing in the area, yeah, the Israelis have really tore the place up. So the only freedom they seem to want to be free of is Jews. And when they say Palestine, they also mean free from the river to the sea, meaning basically all of Israel. Yeah, Hamas has said they don't want peace. Hamas has said they want the destruction of the state of Israel. That's the inconvenient truth, the elephant in the room that people kind of brush aside when they're talking about Palestine. And Hamas is in control of Palestine. They keep winning all the elections out there. So to say that you don't support Hamas and you do support a free Palestine is very disingenuous, guys. So Free Palestine is a coded call to free what is now Israel of Jews. It's a call for genocide, a second Holocaust. 100%, that's what it is. I 100% agree with Twitchy. And I've got no skin in this game. I'm not Jewish and I'm not Muslim, but I see that. I really think the West shouldn't be so involved in this. If they want to go kill themselves over in the Middle East, we should let them have at it. Why is America and Britain so involved over there? Now, Britain I get, because really Britain caused all this, because Britain ran the place until the UN decided to give that part of the world away to the Jews. And so really the UN and the UK caused this. And so I get why the UK might want to be involved, but I really don't know why the US is so involved. Basically, it is word games all the way down with the left, and this one is the nastiest examples. Thus, obviously, it is dangerous for a person to be openly Jewish around such people. Yeah. And there is nothing wrong with making sure such a person is seeing the risks with open eyes. This author has sometimes said to people who wanted to tangle with dangerous people, I'm not telling you to do this, but I want you to understand your risks before you do so. Yeah, the police officer I think it would have been more appropriate for him to have said, this might be dangerous for you here, sir. It's probably best for you not to be here. But he shouldn't have threatened him with arrest. But for the cop to think somehow the peaceful Jewish man is at fault when other people get violent just at the sight of him is inexcusable. Yeah, it's the violent people who need to go to jail. In American law, that is forbidden. In Forsyth County versus Nationalist Movement from 1992, the Supreme Court said that listeners' reactions to speech is not a content-neutral basis for regulation. In other words, you can't silence a person because you think someone else will get angry and get violent. The correct response in that situation is to control the people who get violent rather than the people who plan to express themselves peacefully. That's the U.S. Supreme Court's decision on that. Basically, they've said over and over, for your speech to be abridged in these sorts of situations, a reasonable person must see your intent as being to incite immediate violence. So just standing there saying nothing, there's no way any reasonable person should feel that would rise to that standard. So that person needs to be protected from the mob. And for the record, wearing a yarmulke is a form of expression. It's no great stretch to say that people often express themselves through their clothes. And in this case, Mr. Falter's clothing was not only born of religious obligation, but it was an expression of his religious identity. Because the alternative is to give people the worst possible incentives if we are going to blame a peaceful speaker, that is, a person who's not engaged in threats or incitement to violence, for the violence of the listeners and silence the speaker as a result. And it sends a message to anyone listening. If you want to silence your opponent, all you have to do is get violent. In the First Amendment community, we call this a heckler's veto. And in America, it's prohibited. Obviously, it's not in the UK because, as I've said before, there is no free speech in the UK. So that's why this guy got threatened with arrest for standing on a street corner as a protest went by. This is true even if the people getting violent on the surface seem to agree with the speaker. After all, if the violence of people who seem to follow you justifies censorship, then all a person's opponents have to do is pretend they agree with their opponents and get violent, and they will be rewarded with their opponents being censored. Yeah, and we saw this over and over in the U.S. where violent protesters would shut down conservative voices who were asked to speak on campus. And the campuses wouldn't allow the conservatives to speak because it was a safety concern. This happened over and over, but the tactic isn't working anymore because the victims of this tactic have been suing the schools and have been winning. And I think the same thing happened to the political commentator and comedian Katie Hopkins, where she's had a couple of her comedy shows, her Batshit Bonkers Britain shows, canceled because of protests and safety concerns. I get a lot of people in my comments saying she's not a comedian, and I agree with them that she is a political commentator, but I disagree and would say, yes, she is also a comedian. And most of her comedy is around political topics and taking the piss out of the government, both Tories and Labour. But it is also comedy, especially when she's got her Batshit Bonkers Britain tour. Just Google it. I call that a comedy tour. Incidentally, according to the AP article above, the police even screwed up when apologizing to Falter and the Jewish community. Oh, okay, how did they apologize? London Metropolitan Police Service on Friday afternoon apologized for the language the officer used in describing Falter's appearance, but said counter-demonstrators had to be aware that their presence is provocative. So what? All counter-protests are provocative. Does that mean you're not allowed to be provocative as a counter-protester? The Met later deleted that apology from its social media accounts and issued a second statement. Yeah, because it was nonsense. In an effort to make a point about policing of protests, we caused further offense, the force said. This was never our intention. We have removed that statement and we apologize. Being Jewish is not a provocation. Jewish Londoners must be able to feel safe in the city. Finally, they got a PR person who actually understood the law, or maybe a lawyer, to help them write that instead of just letting their DEI hire social media police write it, I think. Yikes, we're reminded of the subtitles gag at the beginning of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where they declare that we apologize again for the fault in the subtitles. Those responsible for sacking the people who have just been sacked have been sacked. It is rarely good when public officials echo Monty Python. Yeah, I know, it was only a flesh wound. And of course, the AP tries to run interference for the pro-genocide side of the argument. While the marchers have been largely peaceful, yeah, they've been mostly peaceful. Many demonstrators accuse Israel of genocide, and a small number have shown support for Hamas, the group that led October 7th attack on Israel and which has been banned by the British government as a terrorist organization. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not actually taking Israel's side on this. Israel has been awful to the Palestinian people. Both sides have been bad. My thing is, I don't know why we're involved. The West has been meddling in that for 80 odd years, and it hasn't gotten any better. We're surprised they even admitted that the attack on October 7th was carried out by Hamas, although they can't seem to spell their name the correct way we spell it. But everyone knows the score. It is dangerous to be near a pro-Hamas protest, especially if you are Jewish. Again, we aren't telling our Jewish friends not to go near such protests. They might find it useful to expose the violence behind the pro-Hamas movement, much like Dr. King exposed the violence supporting American segregation. Just make sure you understand your risks before you do it. And if you weren't sure if all of this was an isolated incident or not, here's a whole thread of people being arrested or threatened with arrest for being openly Jewish around these loving, peaceful pro-Hamas protesters. We are skipping the first because it's the same video of Falter being threatened with arrest. Oh, wow. This has happened even more after. Okay, so this is Daniel Greenfield, hang together or separately. Yeah, that was a famous American quote. I can't remember who said that, but one of the American founding fathers said that during the Revolutionary War, that we either hang together or we're going to hang separately. It's a great quote. Tell me in the comments if anyone remembers who said that. So after October 7th, the Sydney Opera House was lit up in blue and white to remember the victims. Mark Spiro came with an Israeli flag. A Muslim mob arrived calling for the murder of Jews. Sydney police arrested Spiro. Okay, let's see Australian police behaving poorly.
My name is Sergeant John Marr. Okay, you've been arrested in relation to
Arrested? For doing what?
For what?
Having a flag.
Breaching the peace.
I'm holding a flag.
Breaching the peace.
Having a flag.
Oh, come on, mate. You can have my
There's
flag.
a 100 flags in there.
Yeah, come down here. I just.
All right, so he was arrested for carrying, looks like a flag of Israel in Australia. Appears to be near a Palestinian protest. So it looks like in Australia you're not allowed to counter-protest either if you're Jewish. Okay. Montreal Rabbi Adam Shear, the head of the largest conservative Jewish congregation in the city, was shopping with his family when a pro-terrorist mob chanting slogans against Canada and Israel marched up the street flanked by police protection. The police approached me and asked me and my family to leave the area, Rabbi Shear describes. Asked why we were given this directive as we had not exchanged even one word with a protester. The only thing I am guilty of is shopping in downtown Montreal while wearing a kippah. Yeah, so Jews aren't allowed in downtown Montreal to shop if there are pro-Palestinian folk around. Okay. The policeman explained to me that he was fearful of a fire starting between the two sides. Apparently, my presence is deemed a sufficient provocation for removal, while the hateful chants are allowed to continue. What the hell? One of the many problems with hate speech laws is that they are not enforced even-handedly. Yeah, 100%. That's really the problem in Britain. With the two-tier system, with DEI, everyone in the government, everyone in the courts, everyone in the police are ideologically captured by these equality and inclusivity trends, and they're all terrified of being seen as anti-DEI in some way and being canceled. People with the different opinion, it's okay to cancel them because generally they're normal white Britons or normal white Australians or normal white Canadians, because we've been taught that it's okay to be racist against white people, and especially against white men, because they're the worst of the lot. This is all nonsense. Racism is racism, and I call it out against everyone. Violence should not be tolerated. So in Toronto, Ezra Levant, a journalist and founder of Rebel News, was arrested while filming a Hamas rally in the middle of a Jewish neighborhood in Toronto, which promoted Yah Sinwar, the dead leader of Hamas, and displayed red triangles, a symbol for the call to murder Jews. So he got arrested in a Jewish neighborhood for just filming a pro-Hamas event. Yeah, anti-Semitism is running rampant. Police accused Jewish journalists of breaching the peace and arrested him in the interest of public safety while claiming his presence was inciting the crowd. Just being there, making a video. There's a pattern of Jews being arrested or threatened with arrest for proximity to a Muslim terrorist rally, for breaching of the peace, or posing as a threat to public safety. This allows Muslim mobs to create floating no-go zones in whatever neighborhood they occupy. 100% right. Stop criminalizing regular people. Go after the people that are terrorists and the people that are supporting terrorists. This turns entire cities like London, Sydney, Los Angeles, Montreal, Toronto into terror no-go zones. The occupation is underway. Yeah, when your own flag in your own country is offensive, hey guys, I got to tell you, somebody has conquered your country. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments. It also highlights the importance of controlled immigration. You do not automatically become an American citizen just by setting foot here. While obviously people born here become citizens automatically, we can and do require an immigrant to demonstrate that they are able to function in our republic before we let you become a citizen. That includes allowing people to disagree with you even on matters as profound as faith without getting violent, and we have the right to throw non-citizens out of the country if they can't manage that much. Absolutely. I'm 100% for, if you're not a citizen of the country and you're here illegally, that's all I need to know, deport you. And if you're a troublemaker in any way, shape, or form, we should throw you out of the country. Go to China, go to Russia, and go try saying Xi Jinping is bad, or say Putin is bad. See what happens to you there. I am all for only citizens getting 100% free speech in a country. If you're a knucklehead and you're here to study, or you're here to work, or you're working on becoming a U.S. citizen, go do that. Once you get your U.S. citizenship, then you can criticize the country. Don't be doing it ahead of time, or we should kick you out. In the most technical way, you might say that this is viewpoint discrimination in our immigration system, but we think it's fully justified under the notion that our Constitution is not a suicide pact. That's right. It is basic self-preservation to say that if you hate America or the values it stands for, that you're not allowed to become a citizen. And if you're merely an immigrant, we can throw you out. 100% agree. I know this one's going to be spicy in the comments. Let me know what you think. But it appears anti-Semitism is running rampant, and it's against the law to be Jewish in public if there's any pro-Palestinians around, or pro-Hamas around, or pro-Muslims around in many Western cities. Tell me if I'm wrong. Hey, if you like this, like and subscribe. If you don't watch me. Thanks.